public safety is literally so much more important than most other issues that city governments deal with. And do not, it's just an issue where you have to tread so carefully. Like, you cannot abolish the police department because you think the police department is so broken that it needs to be completely abolished and redone. Because if you do that during a crime wave, then you are going to make the most vulnerable people in your community, and that generally means people who live in the poorer neighborhoods, who tend to be black and brown. Those are the people who suffer the most from a crime wave, and so in turn, those are the people who suffer the most when you try to abolish the police.
Exactly, and that transitions great into my point, because that's exactly what I was going to say. Because if we do abolish the police, which I do not think it will happen, I think most of Minneapolis sees the truth that we need our police, even if we do need reform. You're just going to see you're going to see the rich people be able to hire private security guards, and just you're going to see them do that. And then all of the minority neighborhoods are going to severely suffer from crime, because that's where we need the most cops. And speaking from personal experience, even, I live in Phillips neighborhood in Minneapolis, which is very unsafe. And Minneapolis also is one of the most diverse cities in America, actually. There's so many immigrants. There's so many different ethnicities, even different religions in Minneapolis. So we have lots of minorities, and I live in a neighborhood full of minorities, mostly Muslim, but lots of different minorities. And it's a very unsafe neighborhood. Just last night, actually, one of my friends was overstudying with one of my roommates, and they both came running into my room, and they were like, Grace, this was at like 9:30. They were like, we just called the police. And I was like, okay, why'd you call the police? And they heard breaking glass right outside our house, and they thought it was like in a car right by our house. And so they called the police because my friend had to leave to go home because she doesn't live there, and she felt unsafe walking outside. So she called the police. She reported the incident. She was like, we don't know exactly what happened, but we heard this. We feel unsafe even leaving the house. So the police responded, and they were willing to actually come walk her to her car, which is a huge blessing. But they were scared, and that's not even the worst of it. I mean, when I moved in August, the second night I was there were gunshots right outside my house that night, and 2 cars were shot up. Their windows shot up and their sides shot up. This was about like 50 feet from my bedroom, too, because there's a big apartment complex right next to my house. And
that is insane.
Yeah, last year I was living in the same location. Well, first of all the time when I walked on the street, there's just needles lying on the side of the street. But last year...
By needles, you mean like needles used to inject heroin?
Right, okay. Right, yeah. But last year, someone tragically OD'd right outside my house on the side of the street. Gosh. Lots of cop cars there. And just this week, a different day, there were like 3 cop cars just parked right in front of my house. I don't know why, but they were there for a few hours. It's just, the crime rates are crazy. One of my friends from school and his girlfriend were held at gunpoint just a few weeks ago, and their cash was taken from them, their wallet was taken, their phones were taken.
Oh my gosh.
This was in broad daylight. This was a few blocks away from me. So those are just a few examples of that's where I live, in a minority community in Minneapolis. And if Minneapolis does decide to defund the police, I can guarantee I will not be living in Minneapolis. Yes, my school is there. I will commute 40 minutes. I will live in the suburbs. I will not be living in Minneapolis because I would feel extremely unsafe if that were the case. And
you're not the only one who feels that way, Grace. Absolutely not.
Most people that have families especially do not want their kids growing up with high crime rates and no supervision and no people to call for safety. Even though police presence has drastically decreased, I'm still so grateful that I can call 911 and there will be a police officer coming to help me within the next few minutes if I need it. And I can't imagine not having that avenue.
It absolutely boggles my mind. Like, it's so sad. Minneapolis is a great city in so many ways, but if they do this, if they vote to abolish the police, the eyes of the nation will be upon them.
Thanks so much for watching this video clip from the Family Beacon podcast. You can get full videos here or listen wherever you get your podcasts. Learn more at mfc.org/TFB.